Hello, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Sunday Night Reaction. We're recording this right after the primetime game of Week 3, the Steelers and the Raiders. I don't know what just went on. The Steelers beat the Raiders 23-18. It was 15-23, 4th and 4. Josh McDaniels opts to kick a field goal when you had to drive the distance of the field regardless to get a touchdown to win the game regardless. To me, that was a brain dead decision. Josh McDaniels, I don't know what he was thinking, but that's the freshest thing on my mind right now. This is an oblivious moment. What did you guys think about the game? And then, we'll talk about some other stuff.
John, I'll let you talk about. I was going to say, I'll let you talk about your Steelers. Go ahead.
There's a bit of sarcastic undertone in this one, fellas. It took Kenny Pickett 16 games to throw 2 touchdown passes in one. But today he finishes 235 in the air. And hey, you know what I did when he threw a 71-yard bomb to Calvin Austin? I started screaming and woke up people in my house because you don't see that too often. Back-to-back weeks for Pittsburgh, and he becomes the 4th Steelers quarterback to do that and such. Jimmy Garoppolo, 3 picks, though. Kyle Shanahan merchant, fellas?
We got a sneak peek on how Brock Purdy will look outside the 49ers system tonight.
Well, no one said Brock Purdy would be this elite without, the weapons and Kyle Shanahan.
Unless you're a Riv, but hey, I understand where he's coming from, the way that Brock has looked. But I'll give you maybe try to play devil's advocate. Understand where he's coming from. Your defense was able to essentially get a ton of stops all game long. You figured, hey, trust your defense one more time. Get points on the board, you get a stop. Now you're in a position to win the game. The one other side to it is that they weren't getting down the field not as often as you'd like. Obviously, Davante Adams had himself a monster game, over 152 touchdowns. He's Davante Adams. He's one of the best in the game. But at the end of the day, you got to give your guys a shot. He didn't do it. I see where he's coming from, but game on the line, you got to go for it, especially when you're that close to the end zone. And he had a chance. He went to go to kick the field goal. They got the personal foul. They got bailed out. They get a second chance. And even still, they couldn't punch into the end zone. It was almost like Josh McDaniels had that moment where he's just like, maybe God's giving me a sign. Maybe I should just kick this field goal and take the 3 if it wasn't going to happen on these 3 downs.
Now, the Steelers and Raiders game was a primetime game, but we are going to spend little time talking about it because so many other great things happened in Week 3. And before we get into the headline and topic of the show, just reading some super chats because you guys donated before the show started. So we're going to read them right as the show starts. Alex Viveros, that Broncos defense could not stop a tombstone for rushing for 50-plus yards. That was rough.
I'm assuming you want
me
to
talk about that. We're going to talk about that.
You can speak on it briefly because we're going to go into in depth on the Broncos and the Dolphins.
Broncos defense arguably worse in the league.
Clicky Keys goes, well, I'm over it. Broncos let me down. Just waiting for Luka to play again. Honestly, this is a Luka fan, a respectable guy. I can't watch this no more, Drew. Shit is devastating, man. I don't even know what direction Denver needs to go in.
First off, shout out to my guy, Ricky. Pick a side legend. Love that guy. I'll say this. I got a direction. It's the tank direction. What are we doing? We obviously are not a true contending team. This isn't a playoff team. We're not no middle of the pack. We're one of the worst teams in the National Football League. We need to continue to play as such so that way we are in a position to have a great draft pick come draft time.
And he made 2 more donations. Broncos lost by 50, and I had 117 points left on my fantasy bench.
He must have had a Shane on his bench.
Yeah,
he must have maybe Mostert too.
He also goes, Mims looks like a stud. And if I recall, him and Caleb were teammates in college at Oklahoma. That is correct.
Listen, bring me Caleb. Mims, honestly, is the one. He's
got to get on the field, man. These last 3 weeks, he's been very small, target share. He's barely even running routes. But when he gets on the field, every time he touches the ball, it's explosive play after explosive play. I'm actually dumbfounded how he doesn't see the field more.
Very few positives about this Broncos. Hey, respect him. Respect little Jordan Humphrey. He has the coolest name in the NFL.
Marvin Mims fucking clears.
Yeah, no shit he does. But does he have a cool name like Lil Jordan? No.
Marvin Mims
Matthew
is a cool
Dahl
name, and he's good at football.
Keenan Allen is a dog with 2 alien emojis. He's catching a lot of slants today. He was doing his thing today. That was a fun game to watch.
200
That was a really fun game to watch. We're going to talk about this first game. The Dolphins scored 70 points on the Broncos. The final score was 70-20. 726 total yards of offense, 10 total touchdowns, 0 turnovers, 7 touchdowns from running backs. The game really got out of hand in the third when Courtland Sutton. I'm calling him Courtland fumble because he was fumbling so much. Courtland Sutton had fumbles. Interception. The game really got out of hand at that point in time. But my goodness, I can admire this historic performance. The Dolphins offense, we will never see something like this again. 70. The last time this happened is 1966. But I also just have to look at the Broncos disorganized defensively. Nobody played well. That best corner in the league talk, Pat Surtain, he was getting fried today.
Was he?
Everybody, yes, he was. He gave up a touchdown to Robbie Chosen.
When they already took out the starters.
If you win the game, you got to play to the finish.
I bet.
So the entire defense played bad. It was just a disorganized performance. But my goodness, this offensive performance is something we never going to see again. It was actually really fun to watch. What do you guys think about it?
Drew, let's hear it, man. I want to hear from you.
I'll talk about my Broncos first, of course, because let's get through the negative to get to the positive. The negative. This is one of the worst defensive performances you'll ever see in your lifetimes. You already mentioned it. Number 1 all-time, all-purpose yards in a game. It was a legendary performance by the Dolphins offense as a whole. The rushing attack was something I wasn't expecting to gash us the way that they did. We simply could not tackle. I've been saying this for now. We're going on week 3. Our defensive front on all sides is not great. We have one silver lining, and it's PS2. Today, we didn't have Justin Simmons. The first drive of the game, Tyreek is just open in space. No one even deciding to cover him whatsoever. Houses it for a 50-yard TD. And that's really, it set the tone for the entire game because our defense could not get a stop. It was tough. It was tough to see a Shane and company gash us. Obviously, we understand that I already wanted us, coming into this game, I wanted us to lose. I want us to be in a prime position come draft time. I've been very vocal about that. So this loss doesn't hurt. It only hurts a little bit for the fact of we got embarrassed. And now we're going to be in the record books for how badly we got embarrassed. We almost let up the most points all time. The Dolphins just decided to knee it out and not go for the record, to be a classy organization. For that, I can respect you, Dolphins, Mike McDaniel. The offense, a little silver lining, Russ wasn't terrible. We did leave him well too long. I definitely have issues with leaving the starters out for the entirety of the game. When you understand that it's a blowout, the game's over, yank the starters. We saw Kansas City go up 40 very early into the game. They yanked Mahomes out. He also was dealing with an ankle injury, but they yanked Mahomes out. They took out their starters, and they let the backups play the rest of the game because the game was essentially over. At a point, the Dolphins took out Tua. They took out Tyreek. They allowed Chosen Anderson to be their wide receiver 1, and we still saw Mike White throw a touchdown. And essentially anything that Miami wanted to do, they had. Miami was great. Their offense was amazing. Tua throws for over 300 yards. He has a perfect first half, 16 for 16. He ends up with only throwing 3 incompletions on the day. He's solidifying his case more and more as league MVP. This is one of the signature moments that if he does go on to win the award, we're looking at this one where he has that no-look touchdown to Devon. It's tough, of course, that it comes against my Denver Broncos, but of course, nevertheless, I've already come to grips with what our fate is as Denver Broncos fans. We will not be good. I'm happy to see Tua continue to thrive and be on the path towards winning 2023 MVP.
Shout out to your pops, Drew, diehard Dolphins fan.
Absolutely.
Happy he got to witness this. 70 points.
Too.
That's something we might not see again in our lifetime. Talk about the Dolphins quickly. I think we all knew, like, we all had them top 5. Like, this is an explosive offense. This is one of the best teams in the NFL. Offensively, they're just impossible to stop. They did this without Jalen Waddle. Like, this is the first time we've seen them dominate on the ground, at least in the Mike McDaniel era that I can remember. Maybe there's a different game, but Devon Achane, 200 yards. Raheem Mostert, 4 touchdowns. I know one was receiving, but this is a embarrassing almost like franchise altering, it feels like, loss for the Broncos, because the biggest issue that they had last season was Nathaniel Hackett, or at least that's what everyone thought. And I think he played a big fault, why you guys disappointed last year. But you look around the league and you see talent gaps, right? Because Miami and the Broncos, all coming into this week, we said Miami has the better team. They're more talented. That's fine, right? There's going to be matchups where you're just going to be outmatched personnel-wise. You cannot lose by 50 points. You cannot allow 70 points in a single game. I'm looking around seeing the Colts with Gardner Minshew win. I'm looking around seeing CJ Stroud and the Texans beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. You go around the league and there's going to be talent mismatches, but you're at least competitive or even win the game. I'm looking at Sean Payton, someone that you trade a first-round pick for. This is the guy you got. I know he's offensive side. I know it's all offense. They scored 20 points.
Offense has been good.
Whatever. I don't care. You're the leader of this team. You're the head coach of this team. 70 points is an embarrassing loss. This is not something you're just going to be able to scrap to the side and keep it pushing. Now, the good thing is you got Chicago next week. That might be the only team in the league that I could look at and be like, you know what? I feel pretty confident the Broncos might be able to get this done.
I hope you lose.
But to allow 700 total yards and 70 points, this is like a Madden game. This is like college football. This is like when people say when Alabama was at their height. What happens if Alabama plays the worst team in the NFL? This is what would happen. The worst team in the NFL would be the 70, and Alabama would be the 20. I don't want to sit here and make Drew feel bad because, of course, the Broncos, he's ruined for Caleb at this point. After week 1, he was ruined for Caleb. But if I'm a Broncos fan, I'm starting to have real doubts about Sean Payton. You cannot lose to Jimmy G, Sam Howell, then allow 70 points week 3. That is the worst start that you could possibly imagine to this head coach's career. Or, excuse me, not career, but head coaching tenure with Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
John, what do you got to say about this?
I'm heartbroken for you, Drew.
No,
Your Broncos are $30 million over the cap. You traded 4 first-round picks, including George Fant, to make this quarterback-coach duo, and 3 second-round picks. I thought it was an embarrassment. You got lost. You got 50 points dropped in your heads versus Baker Mayfield and the Rams. Well, you won up that today by being 50 clipped. Now, you look at this Broncos team,
at least.
Coming into the year, I thought it was a very average roster. But as you point out, Dehls, we watched Jonathan Gannon today upset the Cowboys. You expect that to be the worst team in the NFL this year.
Yeah.
The Denver Broncos defense, last 6 games, 51 versus the Rams, 27, 28, 17, 35, 70. The offense is mid. The pass protection, the additions to the offensive line haven't made much of a difference.
McGlinchey is good.
Pass protection-wise, how is he?
Got me there, John.
We haven't been too bad.
I don't know how you're coming back from this. And for Sean Payton, he built up this star-studded coaching staff, the return of Payton. And what do you know? This coaching staff is being thoroughly outdueled by Mike McDaniel, who I think is quickly rising in the ranks. He's one of the best coaches in the NFL. And I mean,
for sure.
Top 5 for sure.
From Kyle Shanahan's true. I think Shanahan's the best coach in the NFL right now. But McDaniel's entering that tier. I mean, the deception, the speed, it's the model example of how to build around a franchise quarterback. They've made Tua Tagovailoa what is a top 10 quarterback production-wise. And we oftentimes say, well, Tua is being supported well. It's a perfect fit between these two guys. The system and the way he's able to play with his release, the playmakers only lock in, the goal line, the beauty of the shuffle passes they take from Kansas City. All things considered, I think Mike McDaniel has actually showed how you kind of build a team with great coaching and perfect personnel to execute their scheme.
That Shanahan tree is basically taking over the NFL right now when it comes to offensive coaching. Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniel, those are the 3 at the very, very top. But then you have 2 other good ones like Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota, who just had a 13-win season. And their offense this year is prolific. And Zach Taylor, who this year they're off to a slow start. But Zach Taylor, once he got Joe Burrow, they started to do some things offensively. It's the best coaching tree in football. That's why if you're looking around the NFL, that's the tree you want to pull from. And I look at a situation, a team right now that has an offensive coordinator that comes from that tree, Bobby Slowick in Houston. Right now, CJ Stroud is off to a tremendous start in his first 3 games. Bobby Slowick is going to be the next guy to get a head coaching opportunity somewhere. I'm not sure where, but he's going to get it. But this game, man, I think the great news for the Dolphins is that we knew about the passing attack and how great the passing attack was. Dehls brought up the fact that we haven't seen Mike McDaniel have a rushing game this prolific since being in Miami. And back in San Fran, he was a run game coordinator, and he was very well known for his overly complicated run designs that would really confuse opponents. The one game I could think to is versus Buffalo last year, the second matchup in the snow, where Raheem Mostert had a great day. But this one, I feel like they found a star in Devon Achane. He goes for 233 total yards, passing offense 400 plus yards, rushing offense 300 plus yards. Achane, they drafted him. He has tremendous speed. You already have Hill and Waddle who bring you speed on the outside, but now they're adding a guy in Achane who has that speed on the outside and can really take off and break off these wide zone runs. And that's just another element you have to account for when guarding this Dolphins offense. And that's what makes it so fun to watch. And I'm really intrigued to see how teams are going to guard this moving forward if this rushing offense can be this prolific week to week. Not 300 yards, but you know what I'm saying? Like, still be a top rushing offense.
Yeah.
Maybe 700 yards isn't sustainable week to week.
Of course.
It won't be. Maybe. He's being sarcastic, obviously.
On pace for 12,000 yards on the season.
Obviously. But the big thing was keeping Tua off the turf. And so far through 3 weeks, 1 sack total. And so the speed of which they get the ball out quickly, I wrote down here, it's tempo, deception, and velocity. It's just really hard for defenses to cover a team that's the best in the NFL getting out in space. And as you point out, Joel, last week they dominated the Patriots on the ground, and that's supposed to be the team known for beating you in that area. It's the best rushing attack in that division. And later in the year, that is going to pay dividends on answer to is not, completely eviscerating secondaries.
Listen, all you have to do, take away from this game, is that the Broncos are not good, continue to not be good, and the Dolphins continue to be who we believe that they can be. One of the most dominant teams in the AFC, one of the most dominant teams in the National Football League. This is great news if you are a supporter of the Dolphins. And also you can take a step back, and if you're a Broncos supporter like I am, you can take this as good news as well to understand that, hey, now we're going in direction that we should be going to, not one that if you're a diehard fan, like I really try to be, that you try to convince yourself that this is the situation. You bring in Rush, you bring in Sean Payton, everything should be great. One thing we can say that's positive, this offense does look better than last season. Does it fall off towards the end of the games? Absolutely. In a game like today, did we not have a chance at all to really compete? For sure. But a couple takeaways. Sean Payton comes in, our offense does look better. Our defense looks terrible. That starts with the decision to bring in Vance Joseph and allow Evero to go leave and coach Carolina. So it is tough for that side of things. But I think being a little bit critical of Sean Payton, but how can you not be critical of him when he just lost the game, giving up 70 points on the defensive side of the ball? It's almost impossible.
Next 2 weeks, Denver has Chicago and the Jets. How do you think those outcomes will?
I'm going to continue to stay the course. I'm hopeful we lose both. I want us to lose.
You don't ever want the Jets W, just the Hackett little pride. No,
listen, I'm not put pride a fucking side for the long term, because if I get Caleb on my squad, then we're having a completely different conversation for years to come. It's a game changing, a game altering player coming to my franchise.
Yes. Yeah.
So what happens to Russ? Just trade him?
Listen, I want Russ to continue to be successful. He was successful today in his limited opportunity. Sure, we lost. So in the grand scheme of things, the team was unsuccessful. But I say this, I want the Broncos to lose. I want Russ to play well, because I don't like the way that people disrespect his name. Second half story for Russ hasn't been the greatest so far this season, but he's looked drastically better from last season to this year. I say that I'm ready to move on from Russ because it's a clean start. We need a fresh start. It's been 7 years. Like Garrett Bowles goes into the media, says that it's been shit. I've been here for 7 years and all I've done is lost. His words. All he's done is lose, for sure. But we need a fresh start. We need a change. It's a matter of retaining PS2, trying to retain Justin Simmons. If we go and we can get a first-round pick for him, I would not say no at all. But we need a fresh start. We need a reset button, and that could be at the very end of this season if we are lucky enough to attain the number 1 overall pick.
Mr. Dehls, you know that Mike McDaniel is very close friends with Robert Saleh, and he probably paid very close attention to what Sean Payton, that crook, said about the Jets and Robert Saleh. And what did he do at the end of the game? I mean, he put 2 former Jets in there, Mike White and Robbie Chosen, who changed his name, and it was tough. A jet-to-jet touchdown.
Having Chosen on the back of his jersey looked cool.
It used to be Chosen Anderson. He changed it to Robbie Chosen.
Yeah,
he changed it twice. But man, I love that Mike McDaniel sticking up for his best friend. Listen, I agree with you. For me, I think the Dolphins this game, it was an historic offensive performance. And I think if you're a Dolphins fan, you have to be really happy about watching the team right now, because the Dolphins are at the front of an offensive revolution. They're the front, they're the face of it. And as somebody who watches the Jets week to week, and every week I'm seeing the same thing. I'm seeing run on 1st and 2nd down. I'm seeing pass on 3rd and long. It is a breath of fresh air to have an offensive head coach join your team and really change the way you've known watching football your entire life. And now Dolphins fans get to experience this prolific offense, and it has to be fun week to week. I'm looking forward to this Bills matchup next week, though, because the Broncos won. You chop it up to the Dolphins just executing at a high level, Mike McDaniel calling a masterful play, and then the Broncos just being disorganized defensively, blowing coverages left and right. This Bills game is going to be a major test. Coming off of 2 in a row, you could argue that, the loss to the Jets really motivated this team. It's going to be a division matchup. This is going to be a heavyweight bout, and that's the game I'm really looking forward to after watching this game.
No doubt. And the Bills defense came out and was essentially flawless against this Commanders offense, forcing 4 turnovers, making Sam Howell look as uncomfortable as possible. That's been an issue of his, having some happy feet, just allowing pressure to really distract him and take him off his game. Extremely evident today. The Bills did everything 100% sound today. So it'd be very interesting to see one of the most prolific offenses going up against one of the better defenses in the National Football League as of right now. However, competition for the Bills these last 3 weeks really hasn't been the greatest offensively. This is their true test. And you could arguably say the same for the Dolphins. However, we respect Bill Belichick and we respect that Patriots unit.
Buffalo,
they're not a good offense, though.
I'm talking defense.
Oh, defense. Commanders are all right defensively. Yeah, they're all right.
I'm talking about the Dolphins and who they faced these 3 weeks.
Their defense, the defense is the Dolphins that faced?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Surprising upsets of week 3. There's 3 that stick at the top of my head. The Colts beat the Ravens 22-19 in overtime, led by Gardner Minshew. The Texans beat the Jaguars 37-27, and the Cardinals beat the Cowboys 28-16. Which one of these 3 was your most surprising upset, or all of them are kind of like on the same tier?
I would actually like to hear from you, Joel. I mean, you've been talking very highly about one of these teams that got upset. You've been saying one of these teams is going to run the NFC. You've been saying one of these teams is going to go to the Super Bowl. You said one of these teams, Dak Prescott's going to MVP, and Mike McCarthy is going to be Coach of the Year, and CeeDee Lamb's going to lead. You've been talking very hot about the Cowboys. So L to the Cardinals? Oh, especially after the Giants go down early, but they make the comeback in the second half.
Hey,
Cowboys
Giants
go down early.
They couldn't make it happen to the Cardinals. That's all I'm gonna say. The Giants didn't lose to the Cardinals.
The Giants only lost to the team that got beat by the Cardinals and got shut out against them. That's all that happened. And this guy Drew,
didn't happen.
1 week. Oh, the Cowboys. Yeah, I like them. I'm bought in. Oh, how do you lose to the Cardinals? The Giants even beat them. This guy's wishy-washy when it comes to the Cowboys. Get this guy out of here.
Number 2 team
get this guy out of here. Get this guy out of here. Listen, the thing about
that Mickey Mouse ass statement. Who do you think
before I get into the Cowboys? What do you mean? I'm me. I'm Joel Moran. That's who I am. When it comes to the Cowboys, this comes down to one word. It's red zone. That's it. 1 touchdown in 5 red zone possessions. There were 5 teams this weekend that had over 16 plays in the red zone. It was 4 teams, actually. Kansas City, 20 plays. They got 35 points. San Francisco, 17 plays. They got 24 points. Seattle, 16 plays. They got 29 points. Dallas had 20 plays in the red zone and only managed 13 points off those plays. The Cowboys, every other part of the field, they were moving the ball. They were moving the ball consistently. It just came down to the red zone where they really struggled. And that's something that I'm keeping my eye on moving forward, because red zone offense is huge in the NFL. You have to capitalize where it matters most. But losses like this happen throughout the NFL season. Even with this loss, I can go roundtable. I can go to the comments, and every single one of you guys will say that the Cowboys are still a top 3 team in the NFC. That's not changing after this loss. I really admire the Cardinals in this, because this is a team that I thought was going to be, it could had a chance to go winless. I wasn't a huge fan, and Jonathan Gannon, he was not inspiring to me. And we're seeing this team, this defense, the schemed up pressure is great. Joshua Dobbs is playing really well. James Conner's playing well. Hollywood, Michael Wilson, they're making plays. And this is a team that realistically is closer to 3-0 than they are 1-2, because they are one half a good football away from both games versus the Commanders and the Giants on being undefeated. This is the team that in the first half, they have come out and they have played really well. And that's what excites me about the Cardinals' future in this rebuild, because they have picks. You're going to maybe have a chance to draft the top quarterback. Might not be Caleb, because now it's looking like the Broncos and the Bears, but you're going to have a chance to draft the quarterback, or at least build around Kyler Murray. So I think the way that they've come out these last 2 weeks has been really inspiring. For the Cowboys, 3 backup offensive linemen played in this game. Regardless, there's no excuse. The only thing I'm concerned about when it comes to the Cowboys long term is that Trayvon Diggs is out for the season, and that's somebody you're not getting back. The 3 offensive linemen, they're going to come back at some point in this season. Trayvon Diggs, you brought in Stephon Gilmore to cover and lock up that other side. Now that other side is vulnerable because Stephon Gilmore has to take the place of being that star lockdown corner, and you don't have a player like Trayvon, and he's not going to walk through those doors. That's the only thing that concerns me about the Cowboys moving forward. But in this game, it came down to red zone efficiency and red zone offense, and that's an area that Mike McCarthy has to get better at moving forward. This Cowboys offense as a whole, they have to execute in that area.
It's interesting, because you want to know who was first last year in red zone success rate on touchdowns?
Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys.
Kellen Moore.
And Chargers doing their thing right now.
The best out of Kellen. He's bringing the best out of Keenan Allen. 200 yards, 18 receptions today, and I think that might be a blind spot at this Cowboys team. Dak was not delivering well enough, but ultimately the play calling is not the same in that key area. Plus the penalties too, man. How many penalties do they have today with all the missed tackles with these Cardinals breakaway runs? We got Joshua Dobbs, Rondale Moore, and end around. Yeah. They all together were out rushing this Cowboys team, and that's kind of what set the tone for them. And that's the other thing too. The Cardinals thoroughly outplayed the Cowboys while losing the time possession battle, and usually don't see that too often with the matchup, which seems so unbalanced.
13 penalties for 107 yards. The Cowboys.
Find a way to lose a game to a bad team. Penalty is going to do that. The story for me really is more so the Cardinals, because I think long term we all feel very confident in the Cowboys. We think this defense is great. We think the offense is going to be great. And in a weak NFC, they should be minimum second round team. And then if you're able to get to the second round, sky's the limit from there. But the Cardinals is a team I think we all wrote off. We all thought, like you mentioned, Joel, this could be the worst team in the NFL. And through the first 2 weeks, we're sitting here saying, you know what, like they've been competitive, but Washington week 1, week 2, you play the Giants. They just lost 40-0 to the Cowboys and got smoked by the Niners. Are they that good? So coming into this game, we're like, all right, like the jig's up, to quote Riv, right? The jig is up. They're about to get smoked by the Cowboys. And even to start off the game, when they went up 7-0, 10-0, you're like, it's fine. The Cowboys are going to come back. The game goes on and on and on. The Cowboys never able to come back. So shout out to, all the Cardinals fans. Probably still want L's going forward. I know you still want that quarterback, but it's not the worst thing in the world. If you win a game or 2 here or there, don't win 6, right? Don't be like picking 9, but it's not the worst thing in the world to know that it seems like you got the coach right. Jonathan Gannon, right? Even your offensive coordinator, like I'm looking at the Jets, who have, in my opinion, way more talent offensively, struggled to move the ball week after week after week. And I'm seeing Josh Dobbs go out there and be able to move the ball against the Dallas Cowboys, the same defense the Jets struggled mightily with the week before. So that was the biggest surprise to me. The other one I do want to mention is the Jacksonville Jaguars, because week 1 against the Colts, they were down early first half, came back second half win. We kind of chalked it up like, whatever, they end up winning the game, that's fine. Week 2, they lose to the Chiefs, but we're like, listen, the offense was ugly, but it's Kansas City Chiefs. But then week 3, to lose this game in this fashion by 20 points, the Jaguars were a team that I thought had a better chance of being the number 1 seed than being a wild card team. And now you have 3 really uninspiring games. I know you got the win week 1 box score wise. It looks like it's a convincing win, but it really wasn't that way. And now week 3, we like CJ Stroud and we like what the Texans have been able to do. But we were expecting this Jaguars team to take another leap from last season where they got hot at the end of the year. They finished 9-8. They won a playoff game. And now you're like, okay, year 2 with Doug Peterson and Trev, this marriage. Now you got Calvin Ridley here. And these last couple of weeks offensively has been really ugly. And defensively this week has been even uglier. So Jacksonville is still in a super weak division. So long-term, I have faith for them. But I was just very surprised that this was the performance they put out, especially coming off, a very uninspiring loss against the Chiefs.
I'm gonna definitely agree with Joel, but just to talk about another game, the Ravens losing to the Colts was definitely shocking. One of those that you go into the week expecting, especially with Anthony Richardson not being active for this game, Gardner Minshew stepping in on late notice. For them to not come away with the win when they had multiple opportunities in overtime to win this game. Justin Tucker, of course, having the 61-yard field goal where I'm not going to say I didn't expect this game to be over once I saw him step onto the field. For him to have missed, and then it's Justin Tucker. He's usually automatic. But, of course, they just have to be better. They have to do a better job of being able to run out the clock like they were able to last week against the Bengals. One of those where you question mindsets. What was your thought process? Did you take the Colts not as seriously because you walked in with the idea that this was a gimme win? We know the Ravens are much better than what they put forth. But to talk to the Houston and Jaguars game, this was one of those that I thought that it was a get right game. This was supposed to be one of those that the offense figures it out. We did see Travis Etienne go and hit his over. That's something that we expected the run game to be a big part of this game because of the fact that Houston was so or has been so poor stopping the run so far up until this point in the season. But name it, the laundry list of injuries that they had to their secondary as well. No Petrie. Derek Stingley is going to be on the IR, out for multiple weeks. For them to come up this short and for Trevor to look as poor as he did, for Calvin not to be as impactful as we saw him in week 1. Christian Kirk got into the end zone, but let's be honest, that was late into the game. It didn't matter at that point. The Jaguars need to be better. Let's highlight Houston. We can give them their praise. CJ Stroud looks as worth it as any number 2 that we've seen over these last couple of seasons. He looks to be the Texans' answer for their franchise quarterback. Breaking the mold of Ohio State quarterbacks coming into this league where you have polar opposites right now and Justin Fields struggling as a passer and CJ really thriving. Tank Dell having another blow-up game, being extremely efficient. Just the 2 of them together. This offense has been really fun, but the Jaguars are an early concern for me.
Because the Cowboys are the biggest team, they're the biggest name. Everybody wants to see them lose in the fashion they lose and then laugh at them. They're the team that all week long, they will be talked about. They will be the headline on every single sports show. But I am more concerned about the Jaguars than I am the Cowboys. With the Cowboys, I know they're going to be at worst the 3rd best team in the NFC, and nobody's going to be over them. The question with them is, can they beat the Eagles or the 49ers in the playoffs? With the Jaguars, this defense looks worse. The secondary can't stop anybody.
Nope.
Even the game versus the Colts, you mentioned, Dehls, it wasn't an inspiring win. You then go to KC and you only put up 9 points against the Chiefs. Then in week 3 versus the Texans, who we just seen the Colts offensively do whatever they wanted to the Texans. You put up 27 points, and one of those touchdowns was late in garbage time. The offensive line looks worse. Trevor Lawrence, the first game was amazing. He played lights out. But these last 2 games haven't been his best performances. And the Jaguars right now are looking more so like the first half Jaguars of the playoff game when they were down by 4 touchdowns to the Chargers than they do a team that can compete for an AFC title. And I'm more concerned about them because in the AFC, you have so much more teams. There are 6 to 7 teams in the AFC that if they get the right matchup, the right shot, they can go far. They can win a playoff game or 2. The Jaguars in a tougher conference, they have more competition. And now I'm looking at Doug Peterson and I'm saying, well, you added Calvin Ridley, an explosive wide receiver. This offense should be humming. And right now it looks like a stalemate. It doesn't look like there's too much creativity right now for the Jaguars, and that's why to me they're the most concerning team. But with all these losses, the team that beat them to me was a story, because I mentioned the Cardinals with Josh Dobbs, and Josh Dobbs just got there. Houston, CJ Stroud, they found a quarterback. I mean, CJ, most pass attempts, 121 with no interceptions in his first 3 career starts, 906 passing yards, the third most through 3 starts in NFL history, only behind Cam Newton and Justin Herbert. They got a quarterback. And I think the difference between him and Ohio State quarterbacks that have passed is that someone like Justin Fields, he was a runner. He was a great passer at Ohio State. He had great numbers, but you could nitpick things that he had that were wrong mechanically. He held on to the ball at Ohio State. With CJ Stroud, the only knock on him was how is he going to handle pressure, because he's been in front of an elite offensive line at Ohio State. But he's always been a machine throwing the ball, and he is the most refined quarterback that Ohio State ever had. And I think that's why he's having success at the NFL level.
I'm happy he's having success. Sorry, John. I would say for 2 reasons. One, I always hate just like the overarching, very vague, oh, this school doesn't produce good quarterbacks. Like it always, like they call it like helmet scouting. Like you see Ohio State, like the quarterback can't be good. I'm glad that's out of the window. And I'm also glad that just because you have elite weapons doesn't mean you still can't be good at the next level. Like you still have to look at the traits. You still have to say, can he throw with anticipation? Is he able to move in the pocket? Is he accurate? Can he make plays out of structure? All of the traits to me still matter more than like, oh, well, Marvin Harrison is open every single play. When you go and watch the tape, you're going to have 30, 40 pass attempts per game. Not every single play guys are wide open. Of course, when you're playing at Ohio State, guys are more open than not. But I'm happy that CJ Stroud is breaking that mold, because coming into the year, we're looking at Tank Dell, Nico Collins, they got Schultz, but we're looking at this receiving group and being like, this is uninspiring. Like this is probably a bottom 5, bottom 8 unit in the league. And CJ Stroud is making Nico Collins. Tank Dell just had a breakout game, 145 yards and a touchdown. So shout out to CJ Stroud.
This feels like the CJ Stroud last December versus the Georgia defense, where he was creating plays out of structure. And that was the big question with him. I feel like coming out of college, can he be as intuitive as a playmaker? But for me, what stood out is that he's absolute money on third down right now. Today, he goes 9 of 15. Last week, this is his second ever NFL start, 9 of 19. His first start, he was rattled early versus that Ravens defense. But when they had the lead late, he was gained to some comfort to feel against those covered, I would say, zone defenses. And he went 7 of 18 in that matchup. So for a Texans offense that got first-time OC, a brand new receiving core, it's all young, I've been thoroughly amazed. He's been the best rookie quarterback, clearly as a passer. We know that.
Yeah.
But given what we've seen from Anthony Richardson so far, he is the most NFL-ready quarterback, and he's the best quarterback we've seen. I wouldn't say he's a better prospect than Bryce, nor a better player, but so far, he has been the most impressive of any first-round quarterback we've seen in the last 2 years.
Something amazing to happen week 3.
Oh, God.
I thought it was over. I did. The Packers were down 17-0 in the fourth quarter, and they beat the Saints 18-17.
Picking the Packers next week?
Most definitely am. Because I think they're going to be healthy. They're facing a Lions team that, let's face it, the Packers are better than the Lions. They're better than the Lions. We know they're better
about
than
the
Lions.
Falcons.
Hey,
they play on Thursday night.
You win
this
some,
week
you lose
too.
some. Yeah, that's why I think
tough.
Christian Watson, Aaron Jones, and Bakhtiari did not play this game, because they have a short week. They have to get ready for Thursday. I think they'll be ready to go for a division matchup, Thursday night football. It's crazy how all these worlds with the Packers always collide. We talk about Brett Favre being a franchise quarterback, then going from Aaron Rodgers, and the question was, is Jordan Love going to be the same thing? It's premature to label him a franchise quarterback at this point, but Jordan Love led the largest fourth quarter comeback in franchise history. The only other time they have trailed by 17 points in the fourth quarter was in 2018 when Aaron Rodgers was down 20-0 against the Bears on primetime, and they ended up winning that game 24-23. The Packers have not lost a home opener in the last 11 years. Jordan Love kept that streak going. It just feels like Jordan Love is continuing to keep up the streak of whatever the Packers history has been going. And I just continue to be impressed with him. When you look at the completion percentage, it doesn't stick out to you. But each game, I'm telling you, there's 5 to 7 drops by receivers each game. Jordan Love is playing with Jaden Reed, who's a rookie. I like him, but he's a rookie. Wicks, you have Torrey, Musgrave. I mean, if these were the Giants receivers, Drew would be screaming about how Daniel Jones has no help. But with Jordan Love, it's because he doesn't trust Jordan Love. That's why he picked the Saints in this game. That's the thing.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah, I picked the Saints because of the injury. Drew's explanation was, I don't trust Jordan Love. Well, you better trust him after this game, because this game he had the largest fourth quarter comeback in franchise history. And you talk about the sequence. Anders Carlson, the brother of Daniel Carlson, field goal. Jordan Love, 2 deep bombs that were DPIs. He rushes it in for a touchdown on the zone read. But that last touchdown drive was just miraculous. He made back-to-back tough throws. He had some throws dropped on that drive by Jaden Reed and Wicks. And then for the touchdown to drop it in the bucket, Romeo Doubs, that back shoulder throw. And I told you, Dehls, that Romeo Doubs and Jordan Love had that connection. That's why I was trying to trade for Romeo Doubs in fantasy. You slept on Romeo.
Should have came correct. Price is up now.
It in the bucket.
I might have to circle back on that, and maybe I might reconsider a different trade. But the Packers are 2-1. But this team could easily be 3-0. Last week against Atlanta, they had chances to win the game. They just blew it. And they haven't been healthy all year yet. I'm looking at this Packers team, and I'm saying this isn't even the best that they can be. Every single game, they've been out multiple starters. In this one, it was Aaron, Christian Watson, Bakhtiari, Elton Jenkins, Jair Alexander, and Devondre Campbell left in the first quarter with an ankle injury. And they still got it done. They still found a way to win. When this team gets healthy, I think they're going to be a great football team, and Jordan Love's only going to continue to get better and better as he gets more reps in the NFL. This was an inspiring win for Packers fans. I know they're through the roof, and I'd be excited for Jordan Love because Jordan Love looks like the truth. He looks like the truth.
They're winning a playoff game this year?
It's in the realm of possibility. They can.
Hey,
absolutely.
Giants won a playoff game last year. It's not impossible. So let's talk about this game real quick, because first half, it's a tale of two halves, right? It's the half with Derek Carr, it's the half without. Now, it's about capitalizing in this league, and that's exactly what the Packers did. Now, Joel can spin all these narratives that he wants. He's an expert at that. I give him his flowers there. But what he knows and what is true is that I gave acknowledgement as I'm watching the drive. Hey, I'll give it to Jordan there. Couple drops here. Jordan's looked good. This was a great, wonderful drive from him to close the game. But early on in the first half, we can talk about the drops that definitely were present. You watch the game, it's evident. But we also can talk about the miscues, just the touch overthrows. And sometimes where, yes, these guys are dropping passes, we see some nice fingertip grabs just because Jordan's just kind of just a touch overthrowing these guys. He'll fix that. I think that will come with time. It's just a matter of just fixing the touch on his ball. Sometimes it just comes off a bit too strong. And by sometimes it seems to be that's a majority his issue. He's got a strong arm. It's just a matter of manipulating it to the degree where he drops it into the basket more often than not. But we did see him miss Musgrove on a basically wide open touchdown that he just overthrew him. There were just a couple times that you watched throughout the second half where, yeah, his receivers needed to make plays. And they weren't, and they did drop a couple balls, and Jordan was big down the stretch. Yeah, I could say that I did say I didn't trust Jordan to win this game because of the supporting cast around him and him not being able to live up to that as well, not being good enough to overcome that. Hey, Derek Carr goes down. He fully capitalizes on the moment, does come back and win this game. I give credit where credit is due. That last drive was all Jordan. He was fantastic. But let's see him continue to do it. I'm not here doubting him. I give credit where credit is due. It was a solid performance from Jordan with also moments throughout the game that you have to be honest and say they weren't the best. But
the Saints offense was not good with Carr.
They were winning 17-0 regardless.
They got also
that was
return touchdown from our boy.
By who?
Rashid Shaheed, man.
Don't do this. You were telling me a while ago some stuff I won't repeat on the air.
Rashid Shaheed is good.
Now, John, I'll give you credit. You put me on to Rashid for sure. He could ball. You put me on. I'm giving you your credit.
But
regardless of that, I'm just expecting that once you get Christian back, Dobbs becomes a little bit more of the number 2 that he really is to Christian's 1. Jaden still has some growing pains. Luke looks solid. It's just a matter of becoming more consistent with his touch. And then we could be talking about something serious about the Packers.
Serious? What do you mean by serious? They're a playoff team right now. They're that good of a team.
But again,
Playoff
if it
team in the
becomes more
NFC.
once it becomes more
like a 500
consistent,
team.
then we can trust this on a serious level where everyone really has to take notice. We don't have to take notice yet.
Is the NFC North up for grabs still, or is it just the Lions division to lose? I'm wondering.
I still feel very confident it's the Lions division to lose.
You still feel confident that they're going to run the division for the next 3 years as well?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Hey, brother.
Because there's an obvious hole on the Lions. It's the secondary. I told you about their run defense. It was extremely great today against one of the best rush offenses in the league. Limited Bijan, limited Tyler Algier. But what's the issue is their secondary. And now we have the injury to CJ Gardner-Johnson where he's going to be out for the rest of the season. We have an obvious need. If I'm the Lions, we have an obvious need, and that is fixing our secondary. That's what you go into next season with. But right now, even still with that, they're 2-1. They have an impressive victory over the Kansas City Chiefs on opening night and against a Falcons team that, hey, some people didn't have them winning today. A game against Seattle that definitely should have been had. But, hey, you live with a no call, and you get the one on the week after.
Shout out to the Lions today. They held Bijan to 33 rushing yards. And when they play the Packers this Thursday, guess what?
That's
it's
tough,
not
bro.
gonna
What,
matter.
31 yards, something like that?
The Packers' leading rusher today was Jordan Love. And in their 3 games so far this year, the best rushing performance was A.J. Dillon's 55 yards last week. So Jordan Love, in his 4th start since the year 2019. Think about how much has changed since 2019 to 2023. Without his 2 starting tackles, without any rushing attack, with his top 2 weapons out of the lineup for the last 2 weeks. By the way, Christian Watson's number 1 weapon has not played yet this year. It's continuing to show composure, good pocket presence, and just general playmaking. And Drew, you touched on a great point. There's a lot of balls that he's missing. The Musgrave touchdown was an easy trippy. There have been some decisions which aren't amazing. He had a 1st and 10 shot into double coverage, which was a dropped interception. He had an arm punt on a 3rd down. It feels like Jordan Love can be so much better with a whole lot of reps. And Joel, one thing I find fascinating, we know Matt LaFleur had done a lot with Aaron Rodgers, but we oftentimes look at these coaches who inherit a great elite a Hall of Fame quarterback when we say, okay, can you develop one? And Matt LaFleur's aggression today, bravo, my brother. He's going for a 4th down first quarter. It's not looking pretty. You got Love tripping over himself. You see that sometimes with Tua, so it's not just him, of course. I'm joking. And then, of course, in the 4th quarter, they go for it again on 4th down, and they don't get it with the miscommunication, but they keep going for it. They get the 2-point conversion they go for, and it seemed like, hey, look, you're going to make it a 7-point game. Why would you go for 2? They do so. That way, when they score the game-winning touchdown, all they got to do is make the PAT. And I got to give Jordan Love some credit, man. What he can be is inspiring for this Packers franchise, and I think they got to be pumped up for Thursday night. You lose 6 of their 8 best players, and you bring some of those back versus the Lions. I'm ready to go for them. Hyped up.
John, I don't want inspiring.
That Jordan Love inspiring?
No,
is he
no, I don't, because I don't like how that sounds. Like, John, is he going to be like a top 10 quarterback? I don't want he's going to be inspiring for the franchise. Tell me what
he's already
y'all just be hating on Jordan Love. That's what you found out about y'all. You know what? You guys are not off the hook because
Joel, there are quarterbacks that are top 10. He's having a better year than.
It's funny, John,
for sure.
because
Joe Burrow is probably bottom 5 quarterback in the league this year.
What you mentioned, John, is we look at Jordan Love. The last 2 weeks he has no running game. Top 2 offensive weapons have been out. His best 2 offensive linemen have been out, and he has done more than carry his load. Drew is mentioning the miscues. Yes, he had miscues, but that's what's exciting is that he is missing big time plays that with time, I believe he will make. He will make those plays. He will hit that pass to Musgrave a couple weeks from now that he missed. He was missing deep passes in week 1 that I'm seeing him make now in week 3. That final drive, he was making those throws, that big time throw to Jaden Reed on the right sideline. Ultimately, you guys want to be overly critical on Jordan Love, acting like it's not impressive. Right now, it's no running game, the worst receiving room in the NFL.
You hear what you want to hear.
No,
hear what you
Drew,
want to hear. Did I not
just
sit here and say
Drew,
that I gave him nothing but credit? But
did you not call him a joke? Did you not call him a joke?
What, 2 years ago?
After seeing a minute of training camp passes, you called him a joke. 2 years
ago?
Come on, was that not premature?
Be honest, bro.
Was that premature?
And your long-term vision of Jordan Love right now, from the way that you have conversations about Jordan Love, what is he at? 50% of what you think that he can be? Right? I'm just going based off how you speak about him.
I think Jordan Love is the future quarterback for the Packers.
Okay.
100%.
Right now, the way that you look, so he's 50% from what you think that he can be right now?
No, I am 100% sure he's going to be the Packers' long-term quarterback. I have no doubt about that.
What the fuck? What was that for, John? I know you did it.
Oh, of course I did, because you took a shot at me. You said, what do you mean inspiring? This Packers receiving core has less than a year of NFL starting experience total, because you're looking at 4 different rookies he's throwing to, and they're a leading comeback source of good Saints defense. And I want to give some credit to New Orleans. They played a good game today in the secondary. They're missing 2 starters. Alante Taylor steps up in the nickel, is making big-time plays. He's playing great in coverage in the first half. That Saints secondary is legit, too. So I feel like inspiring is a fine adjective to describe this play by Jordan Love. And I feel like
I'm sorry. It was just a little vague. It was just a little vague. It's like inspiring.
It was
it's like,
inspiring to see a team so young.
Like, is Sam Howell inspiring because they started off 2-0? Like, you know what I mean?
He just threw 4 interceptions in a
game.
game.
That's why I said 2-0. That's why I said 2-0, because this game.
But Sam Howell with the eye test has not looked as good as Jordan Love.
I know, but that's why it wasn't. I wasn't trying to compare the two. I was comparing the word inspiring. That's all I was trying to do.
Does CJ Stroud look inspiring? Does Anthony Richardson look inspiring?
Yes.
So why can Anthony Richardson look inspiring, but Jordan Love cannot? Jordan Love has been objectively better than Anthony Richardson this year.
Okay, Anthony Richardson's played a game and a quarter.
Okay, and Jordan Love has 4 career starts, bro. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, he's in year 4 also.
So why can't we use
I'm not trying to get Anthony
Love?
Richardson because I just didn't like the word inspiring. I just wanted a more definitive word for Jordan Love. But that's what I'm trying to get into. Jordan Love, before the season, listen, Joel's going to sit here. He does the same shit to Drew. He's going to tell you that me and Drew think he's going to be the worst quarterback ever. He's going to sit here and say that we think he sucks. Coming into the season, I said, I trust Jordan Love's floor. I don't think he's going to be like a complete sellout. He's going to look overmatched and he's going to be terrible. But I also just don't really know what his ceiling is going to be. And so far, 3 games into the season, not a ton has changed there. If you're a Jordan Love believer, I think you could look at a lot of things and feel inspired, to use that word again. You're missing, multiple starters. You're missing multiple key players, Christian Watson, Aaron Jones, Bakhtiari, Allen Jenkins. And what you ask franchise quarterbacks to do is, okay, when starters are missing, you still go and win games, especially when you're at home. So on one side, go ahead and do it. This game almost felt very reminiscent to last year's Steelers-Jets game, where the first 3 quarters the Jets weren't doing shit. 4th quarter, Zach Wilson turns up at the end of the game, and they end up winning the game. Not to compare Zach Wilson to Jordan Love, but just something to remind me of. But on the other hand, Joel mentions the drops. Coming into this week, Jordan Love was dead last in adjusting completion percentage. Adjusting completion percentage takes into account drops. He was behind Deshaun Watson. He was dead last. He was not an accurate quarterback. But you see, the signs, right? Like, he had a dot to Jayden Reed on the right side. He had a dot to Romeo Doubs on the left side. Just absolute beautiful balls. The back shoulder throw, he seems to have that down to, almost one of the best in the league. Like, he hits that multiple times already this season. But for Jordan Love, I think Drew hit it too. It's about consistency at this point. I can't have you complete 50% of your passes. I'm happy that LaFleur kind of opened it up a bit. Of course, they were losing 17-0 because the first 2 games, Jordan Love was a game manager. And I think this game was probably his most impressive throws. And of course, you have the comeback win, down multiple possessions in the 4th quarter. So through 3 games, I feel like there's not a ton to convince one side if they're right or wrong. If you're a Jordan Love believer, you could sit here and say X, Y, and Z with all the players he was missing, 2-1. If you're someone who thinks, Jordan Love could be good, he could also just be a whatever quarterback. You could look at, well, he's the least accurate quarterback in the NFL. So both sides, you'd be happy with the win. Of course, you're 2-1. If you're a Packers fan, you sign up for that. But I'm not looking at this game and saying the light turned on for me. I saw everything I needed to see with Jordan Love. Going into next week, maybe you get a couple starters back and maybe he looks even better. But I can't have you be the least accurate quarterback in the NFL for a month into the season and be like, you know what, my mind's been switched.
Andrew Luck completed 54% of his passes as a rookie with a similarly inexperienced receiving core. And I think that's a fair comparison here.
No. Andrew Luck was a generational prospect.
I'm not comparing the players. I'm comparing the situations.
Sorry, John. According to your definition of how you're defining how people should feel inspired about Jordan Love, question, isn't that the same thing? Doesn't that apply to every single young quarterback? So even with CJ Stroud playing well, with Bryce Young playing well, with Anthony Richardson playing well, you're still not sold because you have to see consistency? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think there's a difference, though, because Jordan Love has sat for 3 seasons. Like, CJ Stroud could show flashes year 1, eventually progress. Jordan Love, they gave the 1-year extension to, so he's under contract next year. But I feel like there's more pressure for Jordan Love because his rookie contract is basically.
We're not talking about pressure. We're just talking about being inspired. This is his 4th career start.
And what are you more inspired of? Are you more inspired on a division rival going up in your 3rd start, having the game that CJ Stroud did? Because if we can just take a step back and be real here, CJ Stroud today has had a better game. Although, yes, we are talking about Jordan Love, who's only had 4 starts. CJ Stroud has had a better game today than Jordan Love has shown us in his 4 starts. So, yeah, we can be more inspired by CJ Stroud than we are with Jordan Love. Let's not separate.
Was the question more inspired, or I just asked if it applied? The same thing applies. I didn't ask.
I'm answering why you would be well more inspired with one.
I'm not asking you to define the inspiring meter. I'm asking you to define every young quarterback you have to see
hung up on inspired, or how about just sold? Inspired, do you know, inspired, I look up to this guy. This guy's a great story. Inspired is just a weird word we're getting hung up on.
Sold, inspired. We're understanding the same thing. Ultimately, for every young quarterback, consistency has to apply. These past 3 starts from Jordan Love have been really good,
but he's lacked consistency. I agree.
Okay, listen, whatever you want to say. Jordan Love has been good. After 2 seasons, Dehls,
fine.
After 2 seasons where you inspired,
I'm here giving him
Justin
credit.
Fields,
stop with this.
Were you inspired by Justin Fields coming into this season?
Yes, yeah.
Even though he was one of the least accurate quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, to be fair, he was also the best rushing quarterback in the NFL.
To be fair, he held on the ball. He took sacks at a historically bad rate and incompleted passes. You were still inspired. So what's the issue with John saying he's inspired with Jordan Love?
There's nothing wrong with being inspired with Jordan Love. I just wanted a more kind of rounded out definition of what John meant, which maybe it's unfair because we're 3 games into the season. Maybe it's completely unfair, and I apologize if that was the case.
John, can you please shed light? Maybe I missed that. What do you mean by inspired? Maybe I missed it.
So I drew an Andrew Luck comparison before, not to compare the players remotely whatsoever, but to highlight Love's rookie year. He started with 5 other rookies on that offense, and with lack of experience,
this is the youngest team.
You look at what Love has been able to show, the glimpses, because he was a very raw prospect coming out of Utah State. And we often talk about him staying 3 years. What matters more is reps. I can watch this podcast 100 times, but if I don't do it, I'm not going to get better. So it's until you do it in any.
I'm trying to say with Trey Lance, no one wants to listen.
And I agree with you to an extent, but you still got to show the signs in practice and in games. Love had some highs and he had some lows. I think the reps he's finally just now getting with the coach, with the experience and the connection of Aaron Rodgers, that all together is starting to permeate with his production and performance on the field. I mean, what is it? 8-9 touchdowns in his first 3 starts.
7.
The highs are way more meaningful to me than some of those lows, which we know can be ironed out. And the completion percentage to me, a lot of it has to do with him taking shots down the field. We don't see a whole lot of intermediate routes. It's either behind the line of scrimmage or near it, or a 15-plus yard pass. And usually the completion percentage drives the middle of the field. A lot of the stuff is outside the boundary. It is chances. And so far on those chances, he's, I think, at 95 passing attempts so far in 3 games, 1 interception, a couple more turnover-worthy plays. And if it's only going to iron out from here, man, we're looking at one of the better quarterbacks as a de facto rookie in the NFL.
We're going to do a would you rather on Jordan Love right now.
Let's do it.
You're taking Jordan Love over some of these guys.
Inspiring Jordan Love.
Yeah, what kind of terminology are we using?
Would you rather Jordan Love edition? First name up, we going with the second-year player, Sam Howell.
Oh, Jordan Love.
I'm going with Jordan Love.
Jordan Love comfortably, baby.
I'll go with Jordan.
Jared Goff.
I'm going with Jared.
That's tough because I think Jared Goff's a better quarterback right now, no question about it. But obviously, he's approaching 30. If I'm starting a franchise, I'd probably take the chance with Jared Goff. With Jordan Love. But right now, Jared Goff's a better quarterback.
We'll see. Jared
Goff is more refined, but I'm going with Jordan Love over Jared Goff.
For
Geno
what reason?
Smith.
He's just okay. I'm going with Geno.
Geno's had a bit of a rocky start. Honestly, if I'm being completely honest with you, I don't know if I watched more than 2 minutes of this Panthers Seahawks game today, so I can't really say how he played today. Week 1 wasn't great. Week 2, he bounced back, but he's also in his mid-30s, and I don't think he's going to have the same season he had last year. So I would take the chance on Jordan Love.
I would also take Jordan Love. I searched for Geno's age, and he is 32,
34?
going on 33.
32.
So I'll take Love long term. And right now, I don't think there's a whole lot of a gap.
I'm taking Jordan Love. He got more passing touchdowns and way lesser receiving core.
He's got more passing touchdowns than Joe Burrow, too.
Yeah, he does. That's how great he is, man.
That's how great he is.
Daniel Jones.
DJ.
Why so?
That's a good one.
DJ's very mobile. His weapons really still aren't good, but hey, his line is terrible. Jordan Love's line's at least passable.
This is tough because really Daniel Jones has played 2 of the 3 best defenses in the NFL, and he hasn't looked good against them. But I also think Jordan Love would not look good against the Cowboys and the 49ers. Who'd you guys take? I know Joel's got Jordan Love. Who'd you take, John?
I'm taking Jordan Love because I feel from an arm talent perspective, there's a clear limitation with Daniel Jones, the starting quarterback. With Jordan Love, I think it's a little more unlimited. So I'll take Love long term.
Yeah, I think in a system, though, I trust Daniel Jones more what he showed me last year.
That's fair. I'd agree with you.
That's 15 passing touchdowns. Jordan Love already halfway there. I'm going with Jordan Love. And he's somebody that actually takes shots deep down the field. Daniel Jones, to this point, has been reluctant to target deeper passes, and that's why I'm going with Jordan Love.
Wish he had time to do so, man. It'd be great to see it.
Russell Wilson.
I'm going with Russ.
Cool. These older quarterbacks are always so tough.
Yeah.
Russ has played amazing this year. He has.
He has
the defense is one of the worst defenses. You can argue it's the worst defense in the league.
It's the Bears and it's us for worst defense in the league.
It's the second half offensive woes for Russell Wilson. I'm going Jordan Love. I'm taking everything to account when I'm going with Jordan Love.
I'd probably still go with Russ.
Russ better right now, but in 2 or 3 years, I'm also going to be taking Jordan Love.
That's fair.
Mac Jones.
In 3 or 4 years, Russ is going to be 38 years old. What's the answer? Mac Jones?
Mac Jones.
This is where we can actually have conversation. I still lean Mac.
So there wasn't conversation for the other guys? Like not even Daniel Jones?
Not really.
Mac's better than Daniel Jones. Hope you know that.
Is.
At what exactly?
He's more accurate with the football. He's has better ball placement. Mac's a better quarterback than Daniel Jones.
You really just don't give a fuck about situation, I guess.
Mac's not a good situation either.
Really? He doesn't have great weapons. His offensive line. Do you understand that the only reason Daniel Jones lives to see another day is because he's mobile?
Andrew Thomas and Saquon Barkley clear any player in that.
And Andrew Thomas has been injured. Last year was healthy a good portion, and this year he's missed 2 of the 3 games.
Right.
And Saquon Barkley did just miss this game, and of course Saquon is great.
I think I lean Mac Jones there. It's close though.
Right.
Jordan Love.
If I'm taking a quarterback, you said it last week, Joel, between Sam Howell and Justin Fields. If I want a quarterback to play within a system, I would probably lean Mac, just more ready-made. But I'm a home run hitter, and I want Jordan Love long term.
Home run hitter.
I respect that. Hey, he's got a huge arm. Jordan has a huge arm, so upsides to be had. But I trust the consistency of Mac Jones in terms of just accuracy and just running an offense.
To me, Mac Jones is one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. I think right now, just because of the reputation around Kyler Murray is probably number 1. Number 2, I think, is Mac Jones. If Mac Jones actually gets a great offensive situation around him, I think he can consistently play at a top 12 quarterback level because he is accurate. He has great ball placement. He reads the field well. But Mac Jones sometimes is a little bit too erratic for me. He'll make some passes that I'm left wondering, you didn't really need to make that. You don't have the arm strength to fit it in through that window. I'm going to go Jordan Love for the same reason that John laid out, just the upside factor of it, because I think Jordan Love can get to a level where he is a really accurate quarterback. Did you take Mac Jones, Dehls?
I took Mac Jones.
Okay.
That's a toss-up, though. That's the closest one for me.
For sure.
You have Kenny Pickett. That's your last name, John?
Kenny Pickett.
Jordan Love.
Give me Jordan.
Respectfully.
Give me Jordan.
Even though he played great tonight.
If Jordan Love's inspiring, talk about uninspiring. With all due respect to Kenny Pickett so far.
Yo, shout out to Najee for hitting that over.
That could be Matt Canada. That could be
shout
Matt
out
Canada,
to Najee hitting that over. We made some money today. That's the one silver lining.
Shout out
today.
Mojo, man.
Oh my Lord, have mercy.
Big time week in week 3. What stood out to you in week 3 that you want to highlight? A performance, a game, a call, whatever you want to highlight.
What do y'all got, man? I was going to talk about the Ravens, but we kind of already touched on that. So let me see if I can find something else. Oh, you know what? I got one. We haven't talked about them this show. Don't know how. New York Football Jets. It's time. Bring another quarterback. Carson Wentz, Colt McCoy. Don't care who it is. Got to bring another quarterback. You can't just punt this season. You know, sometimes I feel like I forget, like, or at least coming into the season, I forgot how bad Zach Wilson is. And then I watched Josh Dobbs, and I was like, holy shit, he's better than Zach Wilson. It's time. You got to get someone else in here. This team is too good. Defense is too good. We can't have another season of Zach Wilson not being able to throw the football. Bring in another quarterback, JD.
This is hard to watch, brother.
I want to highlight the Detroit Lions going and handling business against the Atlanta Falcons, who are a solid defensive unit. So far through the season, they've really proven to do that. But we go and we see them answer the call. What was brought into question, their defense. They go and they handle one of the best rush offenses in the National Football League. Bijan and Tyler Algier were essentially a non-factor. Their offense entirely was a non-factor, forcing Desmond Ridder to beat you in this football game. We all know that he's incapable of doing so. So they go and they handle business. On the offensive side of the ball, Jared Goff didn't have his best performance, but Sam Laporta, let's give a shout out to the rookie tight end, just wide open in space for the bomb touchdown to be able to have 8 receptions for 84 yards and a tutty. And Amon-Ra St. Brown continuing to be one of the more dominant wide receivers in the National Football League. Another day, another game of 9 receptions and 100 receiving yards. He's a special wide receiver, and I'm glad that this offense continues to have success and they get the ball back rolling with the win this Sunday.
Riv's not here, so I think I'll take it for him. Derrick Henry today had 20 rushing yards versus this Browns stingy defense. Cleveland thoroughly dominates this Tennessee offense. I thought the Titans would be good this year, like halfway competitive, but their offense is a train wreck. And it was Deshaun Watson's best game as a Brown, 289 pair of touchdowns. This was a big game for him because, of course, you don't have Nick Chubb. And on the ground, the Browns could not get anything going. Fantasy-wise, Jerome Ford played well, but he also averaged
saved the day. 2 touchdowns, saved the day.
That was huge.
I want to highlight this game, the Chargers and the Vikings. The Chargers beat the Vikings 28-24. And this was one of the most fun games that I watched all week. And I'll probably say the most fun. If you haven't watched, definitely go back and watch. Because if there is a game that tells the story of these two franchises perfectly, it's this one. They both tried to lose this game. The Chargers on their final offensive drive, they get stalled out. Minnesota drives down the field. They're down 28-24. They're right at the goal line within the 5-yard line. They don't spike the ball. The clock management is horrible. Kirk Cousins throws into a tight window, gets intercepted. It just feels like they were going back and forth and trying to win this game. But I want to highlight this player in the performance that he had. It's Justin Herbert, 405 yards, 3 touchdowns, 123.8 passer rating, 85.1% completion percentage. In my opinion, given the circumstance of this game, how tight of a game it was, I felt like the best quarterback performance of week 3 went to Justin Herbert just because it was a close game. Look at the Dolphins game. Tua was better statistically, but 3 of the touchdown passes were behind the line of scrimmage, and one of them was an open cross to Tyreek Hill. They dominated the Broncos, but Herbert is quietly having an MVP type season, but because they're starting out 1-2, nobody is giving him that recognition. But I feel like if the Chargers rattle off 2 or 3 wins in a row, we're going to see that MVP hype start circling back to Justin Herbert because through 3 games, he's played at a top 3 quarterback level in the NFL.
Has he thrown for over 1,000 yards already? Week 1 over 300, week 2 over 300, and today 400. I mean, I'm just going to do some simple math there. He has been special. And you're 100% right. This defense and Brandon Staley has been letting Herbert down. Him and Keenan Allen continue to be one of the more special, untalked about duos in the National Football League. You're 100% right here. This guy, facts. That's something that's upsetting. God willing, he doesn't have a serious knee injury, but it didn't look great ended up getting carted off the field. But he was another one that was putting together a great
over
game.
100 yards where he got hurt.
And we even saw Keenan rob a touchdown from Herbert where they had that trick play. Very interesting. Kellen Moore, man. I mean, he really has been running a great offense. What are they doing on the other side of the football? That's where we're gonna have the conversations at the end of the season about the Chargers.
He's almost at 1,000.
He is almost at 1,000.
939 yards, 76% completion percentage on the season, 6 touchdowns, 112.9 passer rating. He's third in QBR right now in the NFL. And we're talking about it. The Miami game and the Los Angeles game came down to the wire. Tua outdueled him that game. But if Herbert had that win under his belt last week against Tennessee, they lose by 1 score. Herbert's had the possessions to capitalize in late games to take those leads. He hasn't done it, but he's just this close away from really being hyped up in that MVP conversation. And I just feel like I shed light on how great he's playing so far because he's really playing spectacular.
Deserve.
That was a legacy game. Okay, if they went 0-3, I mean, we're looking at him as top 5.
Now Kirk Cousins got to come to the Jets. We right here.
Listen, also another game, another 100-yard performance from Justin Jefferson, where there was a moment where I honestly had my just that terrible gut feeling that it's something about when you're about to receive life-changing money and just a contract we've never seen before, when something goes wrong. And when we see Jettas hit that turf and he's not getting up, you just can't help but go to that moment because the first thing that comes to my mind is Shohei Ohtani, where I'm thinking he's about to get 700, 600, 700 million because he's doing something we've never seen before. Justin Jefferson was about to get game-changing money because he's doing something we haven't seen out of the wide receiver position. For him to go down, thank God it was only cramping. He was able to come back and finish the game. But it's just something that just kills me. And thank God he's all right because we understand that when he's on the field, the game's better, and he's just one of the most dominant players in NFL history. Let's not get it twisted just right now. In NFL history, he's one of the most dominant guys where he just continues to just pop out 100-yard performances like they're nothing. And that's not normal.
Getting into these super chats, Ricky goes, none worse than watching Zach Wilson starting.
There's
the only thing that's worse than watching Zach Wilson starting is watching Nathaniel Hackett call plays for Zach Wilson. That's the only thing.
What's worse is having 70 points dropped on your team. That's worse than watching Zach.
That also sucks.
We should talk
What's
about
worse
that.
is not winning a playoff game since God knows how long.
2010. We on 2. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. We did our thing. We beat your GOAT. We did our thing.
My GOAT retired, went off into the sunset a champion.
Clutch City 71 goes, Bengals trash, Cowboys are pretenders, Jets are jetting. Is the Joel curse alive and well? Listen, the Jets, that's the Jets curse in general. The Cowboys being pretenders is week 3. We'll circle back once they get into the playoffs because that's a true test. And the Bengals, Joe Burrow he may play. We don't know. Tomorrow's going to be a big day for that.
Real
well,
quick.
let me ask you a question. Oh, you know what, John? I've been talking a lot. Go ahead, bud.
No, you're good. The Jets are in the market for a quarterback, and this quarterback through 3 games on pace for 50 passing touchdowns this year and 6,000 yards. His team is 0-3. At 35 years old, he's yet to win a playoff game, and now they're at the Jets the last 12 years. Kirk Cousins to the Jets. What do we think about happening midseason?
Kirk Cousins to the Jets. We have to do something. We have to make a move to salvage our season. And listen, I said this earlier. I put a video out on Twitter. Great organizations move on from mistakes. The 49ers realized Trey Lance was a mistake. They had a quarterback in Brock Purdy. They traded Trey Lance. And it didn't matter about sunk cost fallacy. They moved on from him. The Jets have to move on from Zach Wilson. We've seen 2 years of him perform at the worst quarterback level in the NFL. Coming into this year, I know we got Aaron Rodgers, but I don't know why nobody in the front office, it ever occurred to them that maybe Aaron Rodgers might get hurt because he's 40 years old and we might need a serviceable backup quarterback. And there are so many backup quarterbacks better than Zach Wilson. And I hate to be rude, but at this point there is. People are trying to make excuses for Zach. Well, this wasn't that bad of a game. It could have been worse. We have to stop holding Zach Wilson to the standard of Zach Wilson because the standard of Zach Wilson is a terrible quarterback. So him playing well for his standards is still bad. We need a quarterback that's going to play to the standard of an average starting level quarterback. And Kirk Cousins is above that, way above that. We need him. I'd be in the market for Minshew. I'd be in the market for Dalton. I'll be in the market for any team that has a serviceable backup quarterback that can help revive the Jets season right now.
I sold
this quarterback. That's a problem.
I missed
Kirk's
my
got playoff win in 2019. And I don't think Zach's a top 50 quarterback, to be real with y'all. I
that's a fact. It's a fact.
Like when he went in, and God bless.
I'll be honest, bro. Zach Wilson. If Zach Wilson, I'm sorry, John. If Zach Wilson wasn't drafted number 2 overall, he wouldn't be in the league.
Not even close.
He wouldn't. And I really do feel like it's Joe Douglas holding on to Zach, because last year Robert Saleh benched him with quickness. He did not care. I think there is pressure from the management to Saleh to not bench this guy and to continue to instill confidence in him as a starter. And I feel like that's a major mistake.
He's cooked.
Or maybe at this point you realize, hey, this is not going to get much better than this. You're right. Our quarterback that we brought in to change our landscape of the season is hurt and out for the season. Who knows what's his long-term or what's his future holds. Maybe we go and we put ourselves in a position to draft one of these great quarterbacks.
I feel like it's a fireable offense if I'm Joe Douglas to continue starting him. You did everything right. The one thing
Saleh already said he's the answer. That's what you guys are going to send out there.
It's worst thing. That's what you got to say. Protocol. If you say anything else, it's going to go wild. So that's a smart decision by Robert. But from Joe Douglas, I've killed draft picks. I've made smart signings. I think of DJ Reed. But if I'm missing the quarterback, and I am so delusional to thinking he can still keep us afloat when we all know he can't, that's a fireable offense to make. You cannot waste an elite team, an elite roster, if you're consequently going to mess up on the quarterback and continue thinking it's all out. We're good from here because we all know you ain't. This is not going to work, man.
Sean Courtney goes, first off, absolutely love the show and the Patreon content. Y'all are amazing. Secondly, what did y'all think of Jordan Love's performance? Sounds like he's a Packers guy. Listen, Jordan Love, I'm giving him an A. And just because I like him and I think he's handsome, I'm giving him an A++. I thought it was a great performance, historic comeback in the fourth quarter. You can't ask for more. This Saints defense is sticky. They're really great. And Jordan Love in the fourth quarter did his thing. He did his thing.
We already talked about it.
Real quick, fellas, is there another super?
There are other supers.
Okay, word. Afterwards, let's not forget NFL worst of week 3.
It's Scone goes, after this game, Drew, do you still think Lamar lost a step athletically?
I don't know if I ever said this in my life, but I'm just going to answer it just to appease you because you donated, and that's very kind of you. I'm just going to say no. Obviously, no, he did not lose a step.
Pick a side. Meme Santos goes, love y'all and Dehls. I'm getting your jersey this Friday.
Santos, we love you. And Santos, we got something special coming for you, Santos. I promise. All right, bro.
I told Santos the jersey to get y'all. I'm hoping he got the jersey. I really am.
Okay. Wonder who it could be.
Sideline DST goes, how y'all boys doing?
Sideline, what up, bro?
What up?
Good, man. 1 a.m.
As great as you can be doing for somebody up at 1 in the morning, but ready to get on this grind Monday morning. Still gonna wake up early. Mike 824 goes, that Deshaun tweet not aging well, Joel.
You know, it's funny. I actually did want to shed some light on this. You had to know this performance was coming. The Tennessee Titans, if it wasn't going to come against the Titans, then I'm with you, Joel. It was never going to come into fruition. But I had strong belief that this would be the week that Deshaun would get back to form. And this was by far and away, his best performance in his last 8 starts. He looked fantastic. The deep ball was there. The connection with Amari Cooper was as expected as well. My start of the week over on the Fantasy Reaction, both of these guys, they played perfect. They played a perfect offensive game in terms of pass offense. Rushing, the Titans are the best rush defense for a reason, and they shut that down.
Hate to see it.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson was good. See,
what was your tweet?
He was great. Oh, no, just that it was one of the worst trades ever.
Oh, yeah, from like last week.
Yeah,
Listen,
we'll see.
Deshaun
keeps it up. That's it.
He said that he played like shit in 2020. Those first 2 weeks, he ended up finishing with an amazing all-time season. So we'll see.
We'll definitely see on that. Now, John, what were you gonna say?
The worst of NFL Week 3. What do you boys got?
Worst of NFL Week 3 is the Denver Broncos, allowing 70 points and putting together arguably the worst defensive performance of all time, allowing a backup quarterback to come in, also throw a bomb touchdown to your starting corner, who is the best in the game, because he shouldn't have been in that position in the first place. All starters should have been yanked. One of the worst coaching jobs that we've seen in recent memory. Sean Payton does deserve some slack for that disgusting display of coaching and just disgusting display of football by the Denver Broncos. But credit to Tua, MVP on the way.
Honorable mention, Sam Howell, 4 interceptions. Give him some slack. It's his 4th career start. So my worst one is Raiders down 23-15. 4th and 4, Josh McDaniels opts for a field goal. It made no sense. It still made it a touchdown game. And you gave the Steelers better field position by kicking a field goal and then kicking off. So for me, I think actually you didn't give them better field position, but whatever. Josh McDaniels kicking a field goal on 4th and 4. That's the worst one of the week. I don't know what's going through his head.
Kirk Cousins, to me, pulled himself a total Chase Claypool classic here. Time management school. 0-2 starts the year. Convert a 4th down. Joel, we talked about it before. There's 35 seconds left. You waste 23 because you're trying to do a hurry up instead of spiking the football. We've seen Kirk Cousins in the past accidentally kneel when he met the spike before halftime in 2015 against the Eagles. In this game, he wastes 23 seconds. And without being able to communicate with Kevin O'Connell because it's so loud in that arena, shout out to all the Viking fans out there who are subjected to this misery, I suppose. Kirk Cousins forced the ball into a tight window and it becomes an interception. Game over when you could have had 3 or 4 plays to beat the Los Angeles Chargers. Rough way to go down, man. Rough way to start 0-3 specifically.
The Baltimore Ravens were top 5 in my power rankings coming off a dominant win over the Bengals. And now they lost at home to a backup quarterback in Gardner Minshew in overtime. They had 2 possessions in overtime. You have one of the best field goal kickers in NFL history, and you couldn't get it done. To the Colts, you're supposed to be a team that could win this division. That's a terrible loss. And with all the talent they have, the injuries looks like it's piling up already, man. Gus is hurt again. Justice Hill didn't even play this game. We already know Dobbins is out. I tweeted out, what did the Baltimore Ravens do to the running back odds? Because none of them can stay healthy. It's a shame.
The team as a whole can't stay healthy.
Gus got hurt in this game?
He did. I think he ended up coming back, but he did get banged up.
And Kenyon Drake was really struggling.
The kill shot goes, Browns are really them dogs. Love y'all.
Listen, if the offense can figure it out, absolutely. First and foremost, love you. If the Browns pass offense can be consistent, this is a strong threat to come out the AFC because of how dominant that defense also is. It's just a matter of being consistent. We got to see that.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Instant Reaction after Week 3. We gave you guys a treat. 1 hour and 22 minutes of content. We had some debates in there about the Jordan Love thing. We had a little debate there. But listen, tomorrow, Monday Night Football, the Fantasy Reaction Show, they're going to record. Yes, I'm going to record a Joel Moran show after Monday night. And we have a double header for Monday night. Bengals and Rams. Listen, Dehls, I know that you love to hear about injuries. Are you still standing on the take that if Joe Burrow does play, you got the Bengals winning?
Yes, sir.
And if he doesn't, you think Jake Browning
Ramley
mess the bed. That's it.
Chuck him up, boy.
These are tomorrow 2 of the best games of the slate. I'm just saying, like, usually the Monday night doubleheader, you're like, yo, these are ass, especially last week.
So
watch these games.
Baker Mayfield's box office. That's what you're telling me.
A little bit.
You telling me he going to throw for 300 yards. That's what you telling me.
He was 50 clipping those Broncos last year. He can do it again.
Thank y'all, man.